Homecoming is coming up for the University of Northern Colorado, and we will let you know what to expect from a very special week here at UNC.
And the school has a new way for students to easily give back to the Greeley community.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. My name is Gavin Burlack.
And I'm Ben Shoemate.
Ames Community College and the University of Northern Colorado want to make it easier for students to take classes at both schools. Officials unveiled a joint program initiative called Ames to UNC on September 5th. Ames to UNC will streamline and simplify the path for students to transition to UNC once they finish an associate's degree at Ames. Students in the program can see several benefits, such as specialized academic and transition coaching to help students reach their goals, support and guidance in meeting UNC admission requirements, guaranteed admission to UNC once accepted into the Ames to UNC program, no application fee at UNC, access to UNC services including campus housing and events such as free admission to UNC athletic events, and streamlined transfer of courses and information between Ames and UNC. Although the Ames to UNC initiative is fairly new, students have already begun to see the benefits in the program has on the pursuit of a higher education, and they plan to expand the Ames to UNC program in fall 2020.
Do you want to be more involved in the Greeley community but don't know how? Do you want to do more community service but don't know who to ask or even where to start? Well, the UNC Office of Academic Community Engagement has the answers. The UNC Engage portal connects students with local engagement opportunities. Your profile on the portal will help you get in touch with service learning opportunities, connect with local agencies, organize volunteer teams, all while cultivating your service hours into a community engagement resume. Signing up is easy because it just uses your URSA account information. Simply go to uncengage.unco.edu to get started. Some events and causes you could help with include the Greeley Multicultural Festival, the United Way of Weld County, the City of Greeley, just to name a few. Upcoming opportunities include Weld Project Connect on the 18th of this month, the Multicultural Festival, Deerfield Day 2019, and Fall Fun Day, all happening on the 19th. Volunteering is an important part of a healthy community, so make sure you do your part to see that the Bears help in any way they can. Homecoming week is fast approaching with only 4 days until the festivities begin.
Yes, and needless to say, it's going to be pretty out of this world, but no, seriously. The official theme for this year's homecoming is Area 51 in the hopes that aliens will actually come and abduct about half of Greeley's population, also known as the cows.
Not really, but here's a rundown for the week. On Monday, it's open mic night at 7 p.m. in the campus commons, hosted by UPC. Tuesday includes the traditional Construction from 10 to 2 in McKee Breezeway, where student groups compete by completing their best can fortress, obviously using the metal protection from alien brain probing. All proceeds go to Bear Pantry and the Weld Food Bank. The same night, the Center for Peer Education hosts sex trivia in the UC ballrooms, teaching you all the sex ed your parents and teachers didn't want to talk about.
Wednesday features Spectrum's 10th annual drag show titled Dragged Through the Looking Glass, co-hosted by Jessica Lahore and Crystal. Admission is free, but they encourage you to bring those dollar bills for the performers. All tip proceeds go towards Spectrum's annual Queer Prom. On Thursday will be the competition of the century, bigger than Simon Cowell could ever imagine, Bear Sync. Student groups compete in the UC ballrooms with dance and song and wonder why the aliens just haven't reached out to us yet.
Friday is the traditional bonfire and fireworks display from 7 to 10 p.m. in the Bishop Blair and Dubenmeyer fields. You can warm up by the fire, listen to the UNC marching band, and argue whether that flash in the sky was a shooting star or a UFO.
And the festivities even continue into the weekend. Saturday kicks off with the annual Homecoming 5K at 9 a.m. starting at the Campus Rec Center. Registration and check-in is at 8 a.m. and costs $20. Then the UNC Bears face Portland State in the crop circles at 1 p.m. on Nottingham Field.
Festivities end with a homecoming dance that night in the UC ballrooms. There will be a best dress competition for the finest space cadets, glow stick games, and more.
So don't miss out on the fun activities. You can check out the full schedule at unco.edu.
And coming up after the break, we'll tell you more about the ballot measures on the upcoming ballot and the choices you will have to make.
And a few movies premiered this past week. Disturbing and controversial have been common descriptions of the film. We will have more on that coming up.
The weather is changing before the leaves are, and it seems as though we'll have to be ready for winter before fall even arrives. To get ahead of this, President Andy Feinstein released a message to the university outlining the procedures that the school goes through in regards to winter weather cancellations. The process begins as early as 3 a.m. for employees tasked with clearing the sidewalks and streets around campus. The university's goal is to always be open and takes the concern about safety for staff and students very seriously. Should they decide to close campus, you'll get a notification before 6:30 a.m., so no amount of refreshing your email minutes before your 8 a.m. will save you. Feinstein's message advised students and staff to live far from home to use discretion and to make arrangements if making the commute would be too treacherous. Any closures or delayed starts come via email, phone call, text, and are also posted on the school's social media pages. As the weather continues to make a turn, you should do your best to stay safe and warm.
The Warner Brothers film Joker is out, but some viewers chose to err on the side of caution. After the movie's debut at the Venice Film Festival this past summer, movie fanatics raved about its intense themes. But, as the first Batman-related film with an R rating, the graphic violence in the Joker has raised more than eyebrows. The movie revolves around one of the most memorable arch-nemeses in the DC comic book realm, the Joker, aka Arthur Fleck, played by Joaquin Phoenix. The Joker is normally portrayed as the Batman's biggest rival, showy, gleeful, and nihilistic in every sense of the word. But instead, director Todd Phillips dives into the backstory of the Joker's creation in a crime-filled Gotham during the 80s, paying homage to Martin Scorsese's 1976 film Taxi Driver. The story develops the Joker as an anti-hero and later reveals him to be almost a symbol for vigilante justice and revenge. This isn't the first time that a movie presented watchers with a disturbing anti-hero, and it certainly won't be the last. With graphic violence involving guns and mental health, some wonder if the film will bring about copycat crimes. They point to the mass shooting at an Aurora, Colorado theater during the opening night of The Dark Knight Rises back in 2012. They took precautions prior to film's release, including a statement from the U.S. military advising service members to stay alert. Theaters also increased security with local police during opening weekends. Families affected by the 2012 shooting publicly announced their concerns last week regarding the sympathetic backstory. In return, Warner Brothers pointed out its donations to the victims of gun violence, but continued defending the movie, saying the intention of the film is not to instill real-world acts of violence. Regardless of the raised awareness, the Joker is expected to break October box office records with more than $80 million.
In addition to voting for candidates, local voters will help decide the fate of several ballot measures November 5th. One of those is a bond issue for Greeley-Evans School District. The others are statewide initiatives. Measure 4C would authorize District 6 to sell up to $395 million in bonds to replace 5 schools, plus fund repairs to several others. The district wants to replace Greeley West High School and Madison Elementary. The district would build another new K-8 elementary school, or a K-8 school with a capacity of 900 students. Mac Ulife Elementary and Chapello Arts Magnet School would be enlarged, plus security and Americans with Disabilities Act improvements at all schools. Several schools would also get new roofs. Passage of the bond initiative would increase the property taxes on the average home about $100 a year. Turning to statewide ballot issues, if voters pass Ballot Measure CC, it would permanently change the voter-passed taxpayer bill of the rights and allow states to keep any tax revenue generated that exceeds Tabor limits. Tabor currently limits increase to no more than growth and inflammation. Any excess collections must be returned to taxpayers in the form of refunds. Currently, if the state wants to keep the money, it has to ask voters to allow it. Measure CC would permanently change that and allow the state to keep the excess money without asking voters and use it for public education, higher education, and road, bridge, and transit projects. Analysts expect each area to receive $103 million in increased funding in the 2021 budget year and $114 million in the following year. The final ballot measure deals with sports betting in Colorado. Proposition DD would legalize and regulate sports betting in Colorado casinos, with revenue used to fund water projects and water-related obligations, as well as funding gambling addiction services. The measure would impose a 10% tax on casinos' net sports betting proceeds. Economists project the tax would raise about $16 million the first year. In our next show, we'll look at federal offices that are up for election this fall, and voters should get their ballots starting October 14th. The feast or famine style of the UNC sports continue for the 2019 Bears.
Tanner Schwint has all the info on which teams are eating well and which are starving coming up in sports.
In soccer, UNC took 2 wins at home over the weekend. On Friday, the Bears beat Idaho State 3-1, their first Big Sky Conference win after tying 2 games in a row. But Sunday, the Bears turned it into a streak, beating Weber State 1-0 in overtime. The winning goal was handiwork of Olivia Seddon, taking advantage of a penalty kick. With any luck, the Bears will keep up their polish. They have yet to lose a Big Sky game this season, and they'll face Southern Utah University in Cedar City Friday. Going back-to-back is no easy feat, and for the first time in 7 years, the women's volleyball team won on the road against both Idaho State and Weber State. Starting Friday, the Bears were in Moscow, Idaho, taking on the Vandals, and Kaylee Jo Ince and Taylor Muff were on fire with a combined 37 total kills, putting away Idaho 3 sets to Idaho's 1. And coming back on Saturday, the volleyball team had to make a quick turnaround against Weber State, and boy, did they ever. The Bears walked right in, swept the Wildcats in 3 sets, and walked right back out. Jo Ince had another incredible night with 17 kills, bringing her weekend kill to 37. Coincidence? I think not. With these 2 wins, that makes the Bears 4-0 in conference play. The Bears' next game is at noon tomorrow against Eastern Washington, and it is here at home, so you have a chance to catch it. The Bears football took the field against the Northern Arizona University Lumberjacks last Saturday at the Walk-Up Sky Dome in Flagstaff, Arizona. UNC got off to a decent start as they put up 13 points in the first half, en route to scoring over 24 for just the second time this season. Bears quarterback Jacob Knipp had his best game of the season by tossing for 411 yards and 2 touchdowns, including a 75-yard connection to Noah Saraya just 14 seconds into the third quarter to put the Bears up by 10 at the time. But it was that same third period that proved to be the Bears' folly. The Lumberjacks put up more points in the third than the Bears did the entire game and pulled off a 41-23 come-from-behind victory that pushed the Bears to 1-5 on the season and 1-1 in Big Sky play. The Bears' next game is this Saturday at Eastern Washington in what is the Eagles' homecoming game. While the team is away, you can watch on Root Sports or AT&T Rocky Mountain and listen to it on 1310 KFKA. The UNC Bears had the opportunity to win their second football game last weekend, but no, they just couldn't hold the lead against Northern Arizona University, and now the Bears' record stands at 1 win and 5 losses with a losing season looming. How does the football team's record affect the community on the UNC campus? To answer that question, there are some students willing to voice their opinions about the Bears football team season record and how losing a football game affects them.
I think in a way it would probably make it a little bit stronger, kind of pull together and try to bring out a victory of it, or it could probably go the other way as well.
I'm not the biggest fan of football, but I think that, it just shows the student body's always going to be there. Doesn't matter if they're doing the best or the worst. You're always going to have people show up.
Well, as you can see, regardless of what the football team's season record looks like, Bear Country is proud of the team for not giving up and how they put up a great fight against Northern Arizona. In life, guys, sometimes you say moral victories count. Unfortunately, in sports, they don't.
Yeah.
No.
Giving up 24 points in 1 quarter, that's never a good sign for a football team.
It's a big difference. Big
Yeah,
difference.
especially when you only score 23 in the entire game.
Well, you talked about feast and famine. It's definitely famine for UNC Bears
Yeah,
football.
at least the volleyball
Starving.
team and others, they seem to be thriving pretty well.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Oh, yes. And that does it for Bear News today. Thank you so much for joining in and watching us.
Remember to look out for reporters in the field and follow us on social media. And as always, have a wonderful week. Good night.
Good night.
What is it? If it's not Moscow, it's spelled exactly like
Moscow.